Hey folks, Feisty Chess, Ben with Feisty Chess here. We've been paired with Neil Tennis on chess.com. We've got e4, e5 on the board on a 15-2 game, and I'm playing black. Just lost a doozy of a game. Couldn't bring myself to finish for the day with that game. So we're gonna try again, and definitely the kind of mistake that's easy to learn from. It was a Goring Gambit, if you've seen it. It was a Goring Gambit with a queen d5 tactic that won a piece and kept an attack going. And yeah, it did not go well for me. Probably my worst game. Alright, here we got a Ruy Lopez against Neil Tennis. We've done the open Ruy Lopez a few times. Let's play the closed. Okay, now white's protecting his pawn, so I need to protect mine. Castle. And if he goes c3, but maybe we'll do the Marshall Gambit with d5. Okay, the main move here would be d3, but the Marshall Gambit is pretty well known. d5. We're going to give up a pawn, but we're going to have a big pressure on the kingside and really a big lead in development. So here goes. These are all the main moves, and then we play c6. That's not how Marshall originally played it, actually. Now we go bishop d6. And our opponent is really playing quickly here. And then the queen comes to h3. If black had played h3 there, that's a huge mistake. Okay. Probably he'll play queen d3 after I go bishop g4. The idea is to come to f1. I bring this rook to e8. I've got ideas of f4, f5, f4. Looks like Neil Tennis might be out of his book here. He's going with knight d2. Okay. Yeah, I think f4, f5, f4 is the plan here. It does put our knight in a pin. We could just grab the two bishops right now. Maybe king h1 would be good. Let's just go for this immediately. This also prevents his knight from coming to e4. And if queen f1, then our queen will drop back to h5, like such, just trying to avoid queen trades, because our whole game is based upon a kingside attack. The nuclear option for him right now to stop me playing f4 is to play f4 himself. And I think I got a big initiative after king h8. Whoa. Drop those pre-moves. I've been needing to turn those pre-moves off. Should find a way to do that. There we go. Wow, that makes the board a lot bigger, just going to full screen. Let's see that again. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Queen F1 is almost always the move in these situations. Still been having trouble finding a game on Lichess. Partly, I guess, because I have a much higher rating on Lichess for some reason. I've been able to keep it up even after starting up and playing dozens of games on it here. But my chess.com rating is pretty low, and there is some rating inflation, but the difference between my two ratings is like 300 points or more. I don't think it's that inflated. He does go F4. Okay. Yeah, King H8 would put a lot of pressure on that bishop. Is G4 playable here? G4. That seems uber aggressive. I'm sorry, G5. G5 is G5. I've always got to reckon with Queen F1. He also has ideas of Bishop D1, I suppose. But G5 right now, and if he takes on G5, I can sack my bishop on G6. If he takes, I take with the queen. So here's what I'm looking at. Let me draw it out. G5, F takes G5, bishop takes G6, H takes G6, queen takes G6, check. He can't go to the corner because bishop F3 would be mate, so he has to go king F1. In which case I've got, it looks like at least a perpetual. Bishop H3, king here. I don't really want a perpetual against a higher rated player, but this gambit, the Marshall Gambit, is very competitive at the top levels, and it usually results in a draw. It's been known to be drawish. If G5, F takes G5, I wonder if F4... No, doesn't look to be any good there. H5 would run into queen F1, and then the queens are coming off. This looks feisty. I gotta trust that there's something better than a perpetual here. So, let's do this. Queen F1, I suppose queen H5, and then things look quite a bit different, and I might just be down that second pawn, but still I'm cracking open the kingside, aren't I? Okay, he gets rid of the knight even though it's pinned. I do not mind this. Now I've got the two bishops. Yeah, I'm having an off day, chess-wise, it seems. Just not feeling quite right. Yeah, I like that he has no light square bishop now. He has major light square weaknesses around his king. And I can always drop back here to avoid queen trades. If he goes queen f1, I need to make a big decision. I might be going down 2 pawns if I go here. Okay. He's going for this. I've got to like my chances after this sacrifice. And I don't see how else to really follow up, honestly. And this is kind of the point of this opening. Do I have any other alternatives? Okay, let's do this. This was the idea. I don't think he has anything better than taking because I'm on his rook. Obviously he needs to go king f1 here. Got ideas of f4. Oh, he just lets... Oh, no, that's not an easy mate, is it? Okay. The knight guards f3. Could repeat a couple of times if I needed to, if I wanted to. Actually, rook e4 looks pretty strong here. Yeah, that introduces a big threat of bishop f3, and then the rook comes in. If he takes with the knight, I just mate him on f3 immediately. So yeah, I'm looking at rook e4. Knight can't take because of bishop. Oops, this one here, bishop f3 mate. So if he doesn't do that, however, I mean, say he tries this, hitting my queen. I just go check here, and then it's, after he captures, doesn't matter which piece, it's going to be mate. Oh, it does. He's got a knight. Okay, but hold on. Let's back up. Let's run this again. Rook here. Bishop f2. Oh, I take the queen. I take his queen. That bishop is pinned. Never mind all that. Okay, that seems like the winning rook lift. Looks better than f4. Might as well check other moves. Any knight moves will be met with bishop f3 mate. Rook f1 tries to overprotect f3, and that'll be met with bishop f3 check. Rook h, bishop f3 check. Bishop is captured. Let's see, bishop. Okay. This is maybe the critical line. Rook here, rook there, bishop check. Knight takes. That knight's not pinned. Actually, rook... Okay, rook f1 actually just drops the bishop. So, okay, any other moves? So rook f1 is no good. There's no good rook moves for that move. These pawns are irrelevant. There's no king moves. Any bishop moves just drop the queen. Let's look at queen moves. Queen f1 just drops the bishop. And we get our piece back with our attack ongoing. Okay. Rook is going to e4. Of course, rook g1 is met with queen h3 mate, very simply. If we do have a situation where I check here and the knight takes on f3, the immediate play isn't rook here because knight takes, as long as this knight isn't pinned. But the immediate play would be rook to g4. I'm sorry, no. Backing up. Check, check. Check takes. The immediate play would be queen here, and then... It's complicated. Okay. It is complicated. Maybe I'm feeling my way through this a little bit too much. Oh, you know what? I can just recapture. Yeah, depth over breadth. I gotta look for breadth rather than depth here. So if I go for this and he takes, I can just take back with check. And yeah, there's checkmates with this queen and rook, which are now completely mobile. Okay, queen f1. This gives back the piece. That does guard f3 an extra time. Is bishop f3 a good idea at this point? And then queen g1. Bishop g2. Queen takes g2. Rook h4. King g1. My attack's out of steam. So it might be best just to go for the bishop at this point. What about queen h4 check? He'd have to go king g1. And then bishop h3 check. Looks pretty devastating. Here we go. Instead of just taking the bishop, let's get a little more creative. Queen h4 check. If king h2, then bishop h3 is going to skewer for the queen. So he's got to go king g1. And then bishop h3 anyway. And next up, I'm playing rook to g4 once he moves his queen somewhere. Let's say he moves his queen out here, then rook g4. And that's just going to be mate, isn't it? Let me check this again without all the arrows. Queen h4. King g1, bishop h3, queen, maybe queen f2, rook g4 check, king h1, but then yeah, I've got a discovery. Well, no, his queen is on f2, it's protected and it's hitting my queen. grabbing the piece while I have a decent amount of time left on my clock. Still have an attack. I still have threats. He can simplify a little bit, but I'm on his knight now. Do I have an extra pawn? No, we're even on pawns now. So we're materially equal. But I gotta imagine I'm just about winning here. I'll be able to grab up that g5 pawn and maybe make a rook lift, if nothing else. If the knight moves, we're looking at bishop f3 check. That's got to be good. Bishop f3 check. Probably, well, he can't play rook here. Probably we're looking at queen e1, protecting the knight. But then bishop f3 check still looks pretty good. Or just queen takes, well, I give him a check on e6 if I move my queen. Could be in for an endgame after all that. Hold on, queen e1. I got queen h3 check in that case. So queen h3 check, king g1. Does that get me anywhere? Maybe just rook e8 here. We trade pieces. His knight and his rook are very passive. And I can just walk my king up and grab this pawn, it seems. I've got to have a superior ending. f4 is also an idea here. Yeah. I don't like the looks of this because he gets queen a6 check. Okay, we'll go for this. I'll get my rook to the second. He'll have a hard time mobilizing this majority over here because I got a pretty good clamp on c4. Neil Tennis taking his time. I don't see much alternative to taking here. So here we go. I really like how that knight is just shut out, and his king can't approach the second rank because of a fork too. So maybe rook to f1 or g1. Maybe knight b3. I suppose knight f1 is an idea. He wants to get his knight to c5 to take my pawn on a6. I think I should have a5 in that scenario. Or rook takes here. But then if, oh, his knight will come here. His knight will go to a6 anyway. On his way to c7. Oh, but this pawn is immune because I have this bishop check. Okay, let's make him do that. If he goes knight a6, he could also try to push this pawn, but then after rook c2, he's losing his c3 pawn. So if he goes knight c6, I can simply grab on b2. And if he tries to come here, he's not really attacking this. Alright, that's an idea though. Of course I can just attack the knight. Where is it going? My pawns are all protected whether indirectly or not, so attack the knight. He has to move it. He can go for a rook ending, but this rook ending looks... Oof. Is it good enough for me? What about h5 here? He's got knight c6. He doesn't have to take the bishop. Knight c6. Alright, let's calculate this. Rook takes here. Knight takes g4. Pawn takes g4. And then I'm imagining rook here. And there's nothing I can do to protect that pawn. But I can chomp this pawn. And then he chomps. And then I can move to c2, attacking this pawn. Maybe he needs to defend it like this. But then I just start marching. Let's do it. I'm low on time, and at least I know that I'll have something here. Also, that rook on the 7th is just a really great asset to keep his king out of the game. Okay, he's going for this. I don't want to give him a passed pawn. Just going to play my king up. Maybe go for h6 or h5. I have this rook guarding things. I have his king shut out. I have a pawn to the good. He will be able to gain that pawn, however. But with my king closer, I'll be able to snatch up this g5 pawn of his. What kind of productive moves does he have? He takes. Alright. Now his king's not shut out anymore. He's going for that pawn. Let's get up there. Ooh. Okay, he's allowing a trade of rooks. I think this looks pretty good. Where do I want my bishop is the question. Probably preventing any breakthroughs on that side. Okay. Now when I take this pawn, knight e7 won't come with a fork. I've got the right rook's pawn for my bishop here. That's pretty important. It's probably time to get rolling with this. Okay. The knight is useful there. We'll just get marching. Okay, if he wants to bring his knight to b6, I've just got king d5 after this. c5. Okay. His knight's not going to get back to help any passed pawn, so after this push, his king has to go here. Maybe I just... Well, let's do this. Force his king over. This is just about zugzwang for him. If he moves his king back, then I'll just play king f5, f4. He's going with a knight. Yeah, let's move up. If he goes knight c1, I just completely shut him down with bishop c4. If he goes knight d2, I probably just push my h-pawn. Yeah, he's not threatening anything here. And I'm threatening to play a2, in which case there's no stopping that pawn from promoting, so I think he needs to go king g1, in which case I think king g3 just wins. Oh, I'm exhausted. This has been a difficult game against Neil Tennis, so kudos to Neil Tennis for this. Tiring me out on this. King e3 or king g3? The knight is very sad. It doesn't have any good places to go if king e3. So let's just do that. If he goes to f1, I just take and then push h2 next move, and there's no stopping my pawn. Let's just give that a check. Take the knight, and we'll queen next move. Let's not get too cute with things here. Alright, there's the mate. Alright. Neil Tennis, thank you for the game. It was a real workout. let's analyze this, see if chess.com gives us some nice analysis tools. If it's going to be nice today. Not quite that nice. Alright, the Marshall counter gambit. Normal move in the Ruy Lopez right here is d6, but castling kind of indicates that you want to get d5 in one go and play the Marshall. You could still play d6 here and you're back in the main line. Probably d6 and then h3 to prevent a bishop coming to g4. But I went for the Marshall d5. And there goes my pawn, that e-pawn. The rook is kind of awkwardly placed, and White has to spend some time just to get it back home. And he has to loosen up his kingside structure a little bit. This is a big trap. Go back up here. The rook could come to, let's see, e2, I think, is useful, is a line that can arise. No, the rook always wants to go back to the first rank. The difference I'm thinking of is that sometimes White can play d3 here. That's an optional way to develop that doesn't commit so much. I think those lines are kind of when White really knows what he's doing, he can keep his pawn with advantage in the Marshall. But the pawn is also strong on d4, of course. The point of the pawn being on d3 is it gives the rook can come to e4 at a key moment to harass the black queen that's coming to, and threaten to trap it actually after g3. So, but if White plays h3 here, then Black has this sacrifice, and there's just not a lot that that White can do here. F4. F4 is going to get taken by one of these minor pieces, probably the knight. And if you try to chop off this knight first, well, here's a mating pattern that I got to use in one of my games. You don't have to check with the queen, you check with the bishop and drop it back to g6, g3, and then you've got that mating pattern. So White needs to do something about that. F4 looks like the only move that's reasonable to me. But then knight takes, and then bishop takes, and we're back here. Now White can defend on the first rank, on the second rank. But yeah, it's rough. As far as I know, White's just busted there. And if we look at the analysis, yeah, rook. Actually, don't even take on h3. Rook a to e8 immediately. Elects rook e5, giving back the exchange to blunt that diagonal. Huh. Bishop takes e5. What about just f6 to try to win the whole rook? Oh, and then there's queen h5, and we'll be simplifying, and White's winning. Okay, this is maybe a better try. Black has run out of bishops. But rook a to e8 still. Just planning a rook lift, very simply. Not even worried about that pawn. We're just planning to go here and here. So don't play h3 if you meet the Marshall. Do like Neil Tennis did here and play g3. It's not going to tell us whether this is book or not, but I'm pretty sure this is a normal move. and this is an opening you can play on the ideas. Like if you know that ramming this f pawn up the board is the right idea, then you can play the Marshall Gambit. And I would recommend it. It's a lot of fun. You'll usually get the bishop pair if you like the bishop pair, and you can have really fun attacks like this. Now this is, let's see what the computer thinks about this. It still likes white a little bit here. It's even. Rook a to e8. The reason is you want to keep this rook back here for two reasons. One is that if this rook is ever captured, it's not check. You have to immediately respond to it. You can get some kind of threat move in here. You could play a check of your own, for instance. That can tactically matter a lot. The other is you want this to support this f-pawn push. So that's why you bring the queen's rook all the way over to the e-file. Okay, it doesn't like my f5 idea. It likes queen h5 first. Kind of anticipating queen f1. But still likes white here. I wonder what it thinks of king h8. Well, it really likes white there. Okay, f5. Yeah, it gives white an extra pawn here. f4 is the move, according to the computer. And now it probably doesn't like g5 at all. It's wanting h5. h5 is interesting because then you're basically committing to queen trade after queen f1. Queen takes f1, knight takes f1, h4. Huh. Just going for structural weakness and trying to crack open the king even though the queens are off the board already. Yeah, g5. I got him to give me the two bishops. But still, after this, queen f1 was my concern. Yeah, now it really likes black. And it says I have a 10-point advantage. I didn't keep that advantage up somehow. King f1 is a mate in 6. I had this backwards. Okay. King f1 is a mate in 6, so f4. I guess we're just planning on pushing f3 and then playing bishop h3 mate. Queen takes h7. Probably g6 check. Okay. Knight f3 to stop the pawn from coming there. Queen takes f3 check. Bishop f2, I guess. King g1. Queen g3. And then king f1, f takes e3 is mate. It's as long as white can postpone things. So he made the right, Neil Tennis made the right move. King h1. King being safer in the corner. Okay, I missed queen h4. And he's got to go back to let's see, g2. And queen comes here. What's wrong with king f2? Queen h2 mates. Like this. That's one important mating pattern. King g1. Queen g3, and we're repeating. f4 is again the idea. Okay, I'll just trust the computer on that. Although it's useful to look at these lines. f4, queen f1, queen g3, queen g2, and take. Okay, there's no mate. There's no mate in that line immediately. Sort of ends up like the game. I wonder what it thinks. It likes f4 here. f4. Queen e2. That don't make no sense. The computer's having a hard time making sense now. Yeah, that just hangs the queen. Queen f1 seems to make more sense. Then queen h4. You have to go here. F takes e3. Yeah, black is all over white. And f4. I didn't go for f4, however. I found rook to e4. Kind of a fun move. The idea was, say, rook here. Can't take with the rook because this is mate. Has to take with the knight. But then there's this. I don't know if this isn't enough. White's winning here. No, that is a draw. Best I can do is perpetual check with that particular idea. If rook f1, maybe I would have just played this. That's probably definitely good enough for the win. Whoops. Back to our game. Okay. Rook here. White played queen f1. Bishop e2, huh? Oh, that threatens the queen. And also threatens a mate, but it looks like queen g2 hold things together. Rook h4. Then there's this. Oh, but then there's this. This is brutal. Yeah. And the mate is just going to come like this. So bishop e2, missed that idea. I mean, I should have been looking for clearance on here because anything that clears this is just a mate. I looked at this, which clears this rank, but it then obstructs this checking file for the rook. So, okay. Bishop e2 would have been a nice blow. Queen takes e3. It likes keeping the queens on the board. Queen h3 check, king g1, and then f4. Oh, f4 is a nice. That's a nice way to maintain the attack and guard e6. I should have seen that. Bishop now guards e6, and I'm still coming with f3, f2 if you let me. Queen f1, queen h5. We're going to grab on g5 and then throw a discovered check your way. Okay, this looks slightly better than what I chose in the game. Well, quite a bit better, because I had a lot of endgame to play in this. Let's see, it's a +5 advantage. Top 3 moves. Queen takes g5 is one of the top moves. I didn't like this because of this. King g7. Queen h6. And then we're winning the knight. King here, then with check either way. Okay, I didn't see that I was on the knight at that point. Yeah, these oversights often tend to be in my things I miss that are in my favor. So maybe queen takes g5 was fine. The move I chose, though, rook e8, probably throws our advantage down to single digits. Okay. Yeah. We've got a very advantageous endgame, which I'm comfortable with, but obviously it's not as good as the winning attack we had. So, this is why this game was exhausting for me. I feel like I had to win it twice. Knight c5. Doesn't like a4. a5, I mean. Because of that a4 idea that white found later. Yeah, that was not the right move, because I can obviously chase the knight away. I would have gone knight takes a5 here, but then the knight can be kind of awkward. It has to get out of there somehow. Maybe c4 is a way to get it out and to trade off some pawns. But giving up these rooks, I think, gives away a lot of your drawing opportunities. And now that there's just minor pieces on the board, and I'm going to have an extra pawn, yeah, rather than taking on g5 immediately, which I can do at any time, bishop e2 is to prevent this breakthrough idea where he's trading off more pawns. And if he can trade off, two pairs of these pawns and just leave me with one pawn, he's probably going to be able to use his knight to sacrifice for that pawn, and then it's a draw. So I want to prevent that, and I want to be able to meet c4 with bishop takes c4 and make him trade off the knights. And in that case, I know I have a winning pawn ending with the kings. King f4. Oh, that makes sense. I wanted to get my pawns going. And king g3 is a mate in 9, apparently. I'd like to see that. King g3, knight f1 check. Oh, I see the idea. If he doesn't do that, right, if he goes here, this is a neat little idea. If he tries to push, I can just check. He has to take, and now I'm just queening and checkmating. Okay. King e3 is good enough. Yeah, I just take the knight. And there's the game. Thanks again. Neil Tennis. Enjoyed that game, but I am tired now. I'm going to go relax. So stay feisty, folks. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.